Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast. This week, again, we have a full house. You have me, Dave. You have Leo.
Hello.
You have Huggy.
Hey.
And we have two guests from the military, active duty military, Air Force shooters. We have Casey. Casey, say hello.
Hello.
And Nick, say hello.
Hey, good evening.
All right, two guys from the Action Pistol team. And Leo, take it away.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we'll give you about 30 seconds each. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, rank, original MOS when you entered, and we'll go from there.
All right. I'm Captain Casey Ryan. I'm a 31 Papa, which is a security forces officer. Been in the Air Force it'll be 6 years tomorrow, actually. Currently stationed at Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, and getting ready to go to Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, in a few short weeks for my next assignment. So I went to college, started shooting in college, and met an Air Force shooting team member at one of the 3-gun matches I was attending. Talked him up a little bit and said, hey, that looks pretty cool. I'm joining the Air Force next year. He put me in touch with the team captain, and I applied as soon as I got on active duty and was fortunate enough to be picked up. And I've been on the team so the entire time I've been in the Air Force, luckily enough, and I just took over as team captain a couple months ago from Master Sergeant Mark Zeberg. So that's a little bit about me.
Congratulations, by the way, on coming up on your time.
Appreciate it.
All right. And I'm Staff Sergeant Nicholas Freilich. Grew up in Yorktown, Virginia. Joined the Air Force in 2011. I am also a 31 Papa, 3PO51 Bravo. So I'm a combat arms instructor. I pretty much teach the general populace of the Air Force how to shoot. So guns have been my life for quite a while. I was working in the Armory in about 2015. I decided to go out to a 3-gun match. I had a father-in-law at the time that pressured me to go try out for the Air Force shooting team if there was one, since he was on the Marine Corps shooting team in a past life for service rifle, I believe.
God bless him.
And yeah, so pursued that. Got in contact with Master Sergeant Zebart, who was the captain at the time, and the rest is history. Just like Casey took over as team captain, I just took over as N2IC, so I'll be the 2IC behind Captain Ryan. So, yeah, we're trying to come in strong. As far as current duty stations, I am currently at the 11th Security Forces at Bowling Air Force Base, right along 295, that we've just taken over from the Navy, actually.
Okay, so we've got two pretty important people in front of us right now as far as Air Force shooting is concerned. So we definitely want to ask
huge deal.
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
Don't worry, Huggy and Dave are a big deal too. I'm just along for the ride. So I don't know. It seems as though at least half of you have listened to maybe one episode. Great. It was the one that I got shot in the face. But if you haven't listened,
let's clarify that because I don't want the podcast listeners.
No, we don't have time. We don't have time, Huggy. We'll get back to it. We'll circle back. So we like to ask getting to know you questions, and so we'll start off with your favorite book. And as you are the highest ranking person here, Captain, you can go first.
Favorite book? I wish I could say I was a big reader. I've been trying to read more nonfiction lately, leadership books and things like that, but the one was most enjoyable or impactful to me was probably Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell. So
good choice.
Definitely shaped
Okay.
the way I viewed sacrifice in a lot of ways.
So I'll take it a different route. I am a big fantasy nerd, and I read a lot of fiction books. Right now, the series that I'm liking the most is probably, oh gosh, it's a toss-up. The Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearn. He originally wrote him out in Tempe, Arizona, and I was living out in El Paso and managed to drive all the way to Phoenix and visit the bar that a good part of the books took place in, and that was pretty awesome.
Okay, very cool. All right. Just saying, I'm a little surprised the Air Force doesn't read more books, but it's okay. It's a judgment-free zone.
Yeah, they encourage it, but I'd rather go shooting.
Okay, fair.
Good answer.
You win this
Good
round,
answer.
sir. All right. So, what is your favorite film? And it can be the book. It's fine. But favorite movie?
No. It's I'll go a different route for sure. I would say it's Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. The cinematography, the score, the acting, the journey itself. I mean, I love that movie. It's so good, and the books are good too. But the movie is just fantastic.
Agreed.
I am a big Star Wars fan, and I would have to go with Empire Strikes Back.
Clarifying question: original or like the recut with all the new stuff?
There was minimal recut for Empire, as far as my understanding goes. Most of it was in A New Hope and Return of the Jedi.
You gotta love a guy that knows what I'm talking about. All right, perfect.
Wow.
Oh,
Who was the other guy?
Who was the other one?
He hasn't come up yet.
Oh, okay. You'll have to listen to find out.
It's we can go ahead and say it now, but it's Riley Bowman from concealcarry.com. He also said Lord of the Rings.
Man,
I don't know him, but sounds like a good guy.
He's a master class carry optic shooter.
Yeah, he was A class at Area 2.
Yes.
He took my lunch money.
Oh, that's funny.
We will let him know that.
Well, he'll know now because he listens. Oh, that's funny.
That's awesome. Okay, so since you guys are military, and we don't often get to ask this question, but who is your favorite superhero?
Oh man, I don't think I've ever been asked that in my life. Yeah, favorite superhero. I wish I don't have one, but I did. I was coming through the gate the other day on base, and I was wearing a Captain America shirt. And I'm a captain, and one of my guys said I looked like Captain America. So that was pretty. He started laughing at me, and I didn't know why he was laughing. I know I don't actually look like him, but
Well, if you've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
I think we have a match.
yes, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have one, unfortunately.
We're going with Captain America then.
All right.
It's decided.
Yep.
Stamp of approval.
All right, Nick.
mine would be Green Arrow. I've always been a fan of the humor that Oliver Queen has in the comics. The CW show is very good. It kind of spun out of control towards the end there, but what show doesn't these days?
Yeah, I agree.
Just for
I
the
have to
record,
say-
mine's Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I'm
Just
very
saying.
surprised none of you said Captain Marvel, but that's cool.
Couldn't tell you what Captain Marvel does. No idea.
Me either.
That's
I have no idea.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Captain Marvel movie yet, unfortunately.
That's all right. It would have been a little on the nose. All right. Well, along the same vein, who is your favorite historical figure?
For me, Jesus. That's not a very exciting answer, but
Hey, that's a good answer.
probably the most impactful.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah, not trying to trump you, Nick. Sorry, man. Just definitely most impactful to my life, and I think a lot of humanity.
Nick, just go ahead and turn off your mic. It's all good.
See you guys. All right. Now I'll go a more recent history, I guess. So, growing up in Yorktown, I got to visit a lot of Revolutionary and Civil War sites. So I had a different take than a lot of people growing up, I found, being in the military. But I would say Ulysses S. Grant, even though he wasn't a great president, he did win the Civil War. I did a book report on him in the 4th grade and found out that I ended up being related to him. So
Oh, wow.
Oh, look
that's
at
just
you.
one that kind of is near and dear to my heart.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That
it
is pretty neat.
Again, gracing us with your presence. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Next time,
Yes.
next time I look at that money, I'll be like, oh, look, that's Nick's
Yeah.
relative.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. So Leo is trying to fix his frozen face. So the next question is kind of a two-parter. One, favorite firearm and favorite caliber. They don't have to be, just because you say 1911, your favorite caliber doesn't have to be 45. That's the example.
Yeah. Okay. So my favorite firearm I've got right here. Actually, it's my 3-gun AR. I love it so much. I even have the Air Force logo engraved.
Nice.
On it. Yep. But this thing is a lot of fun to shoot, and that's in 5.56, or 223 Wild, whatever. But I'd say my favorite caliber, probably 17 HMR. It's a rimfire caliber. I had one way back in the day, and I shot a lot of squirrels with it. It was just a really, really, really fun rifle to shoot.
Have you? Now I'm a somewhat like Nick. I'm a nerd, but I'm a numbers nerd. So I'm like an Excel groupie, and I am a ballistics groupie. Have you run the ballistics on that before?
No. I had one when I was first kind of getting into shooting before I did any competition stuff. I think. No, I couldn't tell you any of the ballistics. I just remember it was a fun, tiny little round, 40 grains going at 2,800 feet per second or whatever it is. It's a little blazing round, and there's no recoil to it, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's like shooting a pencil. I mean, it's just straight, flat. It's very nice.
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
So I have my long range AR-10 here. I managed to get it with the state of Texas on there because I spent 4 years out in Texas in El Paso. So a little homage there to it. This is chambered in 6.5 Creed, which, sorry, I'm left-handed, so it looks opposite, but gun is cleared.
Okay.
So, still haven't broken the barrel in on this one yet, and my bolt gun loads were showing a little overpressure, so I need to do some load development for that. But looking forward to stretching this one out. I have a 308 upper for it. This one's in 6.5 Creed, but I think 308 is probably my favorite caliber.
I so agree. I kind of had the same thing. I have the Ruger Precision 308 bolt action, beautiful gun, and then I built 2 LR 308s myself. So
Excellent.
So I love them. One's with a bull barrel, and oh my gosh, I love it. It feels something about it. It's like when I pull that trigger, it just feels so good. So
Yes.
I'm with you, Nick.
Yes, you get a healthy amount of recoil with it. Very healthy amount of recoil.
The 308, yeah. Now, Nick, what do you shoot competition with your rifle?
I have not shot competition with that upper, but I have shot 2 of the Quantico long range matches. One in production with the bolt gun, and one in gas gun with the 308 upper.
So PRS?
Yes, the ones that they specifically did at Quantico.
Okay, yeah, but not NRA.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, that's been my only foray into the long range game. I'm just kind of getting my feet wet.
Okay. Wow, I'm like,
I was gonna say,
what happened
what
there?
happened there?
That's weird. Okay.
That's a first.
So Leo had created these questions. His next question was, how old were you guys when you first started shooting?
I grew up shooting during the summer at summer camps. We'd go to YMCA summer camps as a kid and shoot 22s. That's pretty much the extent of my shooting until I hit 18. And when I turned 18, I told my parents I was going to buy a shotgun, and they were a little apprehensive. We didn't have any guns in the house, and I came home with an AR-15, and they they were pretty pissed about it. But that kind of started a journey for my family into the Second Amendment world a little bit, and now we all own lots of weapons. But just kind of plinking for most of that time, and then right before I turned 21, we got a Glock 19 that I was going to start carrying once I turned 21 and could get a carry permit. And my buddy had shot some IDPA matches, and I was like, "Yeah, that looks pretty cool." To build some competency with the gun that I'm going to carry, I should probably know what I'm doing with it if I'm going to carry it. So shot those for a few months. Wasn't very good. I think I saw some videos of Jerry Michalek on YouTube and was kind of fascinated with that type of shooting, more the competitive side, USPSA and the 3-gun. And I walked into a local gun range about 6 months after I turned 21 and walked out with a job making custom hearing protection for a guy who had a small company down in Birmingham when I was going to college. And through that job, he brought me to USPSA matches, and I was hooked. So within a few months of going and working at a couple of these matches, I started getting gear, started practicing, and my first match was August of 2013. It was actually a level 3 match. It was my first USPSA match I ever shot, shooting a Glock 30. I think it was a Glock 34 with a 40 cal conversion in limited.
Which match
and
was
ever
it?
since then, I've been. It was Area 4.
Okay.
Area 4. It was
in 2013.
2013. It was in
Okay.
somewhere in the middle of Oklahoma, I think, or Arkansas. It was in the middle of nowhere, and we got there the day before. I spent 2 hours walking stages, well past when the range was closed because we had an RV, so we were staying on the range. And Brad Ganaway was my employer and kind of the guy who got me into it. And we were walking stages and talking strategy and all this sort of stuff. And I just fell in love with action shooting, and been shooting a lot ever since then.
Okay.
So my story is going to sound very similar in the very beginning. I shot a 12 gauge and a 22 rifle in Boy Scout camp growing up, about 2 times total, maybe 3. Yeah, 3 times total. I had fired a rifle or a firearm, and I never fired a centerfire rifle or a pistol until I joined the military. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was 20 years old, and I got an M9 in my hands for the first time, and
I'm sorry.
I actually kind of like the M9. I have
Oh my gosh! Turn your mic off, Nick.
I have a weird service pistol addiction, I guess. So I have various different service pistols around.
Well, it's just so you know, when I went into Marine Corps in 1985. My platoon was the very first ones to shoot M16A2s. They brought them. They just took them out of the plastic, and then later we switched over from the 45 to the M9. There were a bunch of problems when they first came out, so I've never liked them because of that. So just a little background.
That's fair. There were, I won't go into the issues, but I have seen a lot of locking blocks break.
Yeah, I mean they got most of it worked out, but
Yes.
you know when that was when you had something that was pretty solid for almost 100 years, and then they decide to switch it up, it's like, come on, guys.
Did I hear 2 world wars in there?
Something like that, yeah, and a few other conflicts, you know.
2 Iraq wars.
Too late on the fixes for Dave to not be upset about it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's all good.
He's very
So
set in his ways.
I did get that pistol in my hands, and I fired an M16 in basic training, and I just fell in love with it. I turned 21 at my first duty station in Missouri, went out as soon as I could, and I bought a pistol, and then went home on leave and flew it out with me, and so I could show my parents. And now my dad has started acquiring firearms, much like Captain Ryan's parents have started acquiring firearms. So it's been very fun. But after I had guns for a while, I would go out to the range and I would just shoot, and ended up just shooting our qualification course over and over again and got kind of bored with it. So I started looking for something more so I could kind of get more out of the shooting experience. And I found videos of Jerry Michalik out there. And I remember watching one video where Jerry was doing an introduction with one of the veteran YouTube channels, doing an intro to 3-gun. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I started acquiring firearms. I acquired an AR and went crazy and got it Cerakoted so it was Stormtrooper colored, and put a big barrel on it, put a low powerful variable optic, and I zeroed it. Little did I know that I had mounted it wrong and it had lost the zero. And I acquired a semi-auto shotgun. And I went out to my first 3-gun match, and like I mentioned, it wasn't zeroed. This was still in Missouri, in Versailles actually, which is spelled Versailles, but pronounced Versailles.
It's Missouri.
It's America.
Yeah. Or Missouri, as some
There it
folks
is.
say.
Right, like there's an A on the end or something.
Yeah, we just vowels. It's a good time. So I couldn't make a hit on an 8-inch steel plate at 50 yards offhand because my rifle had lost zero. And at that
Holy
point,
cow.
there was a couple individuals, and one was like, well, I have a spare rifle in the car. Let me go get that. And he just comes out and hands me a $3,000 rifle with a $2,000 optic on top. And was like, yeah, here. Just go ahead and run it really hard. Throw it in barrels. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And that's when I fell in love with the community and the people in practical shooting and action shooting. That was awesome.
It still adds pucker factor, though.
Especially when it's not
You have
yours.
no idea.
Yeah.
I have shot no less than 3 major matches with other people's guns, like the entire match. I shot a steel match in Alabama. I think that was I think Frank Garcia gave me one of his Brazos customs
Wow.
40s and like 500 rounds of ammo. And he's like, "Yeah, here you go."
Wow.
Because my gun broke on the first stage. That was awesome. And then I've shot at least 2 major 3-gun matches where I've had to borrow shotguns. Somebody hands me a nice Benelli M2. So yeah, the community is fantastic.
Yeah.
So how did you do on those
Absolutely.
matches?
So I don't remember how I did on the steel match. I was still kind of new. The shotgun one, I actually ended up finishing like 3rd in open, shooting a borrowed TAC Ops shotgun. That was Memorial 3-gun 2018. So I did pretty well. I was pretty happy about that.
You did amazing at that match.
Nice.
Good teammates cheering me on. That's all.
There you go.
So great community. And that's one of the reasons that early on I was head first into it. Everybody's sharing stage plans and encouraging each other and giving advice. Sometimes the unsolicited advice is a little annoying, but most of the time, especially when you're first starting off, it gets you pointed in the right direction, and it's helpful.
So Nick, you started shooting competitively in the Air Force.
Yes, I was in the Air Force when I started. It was around 2015.
Okay, and then Captain Ryan,
Casey was in college.
Okay. So you get introduced to it. You get on the team. Actually, before we get into that, so you're both in the Air Force. Just to confirm,
Both active duty Air Force. Yes,
you're both active duty Air Force.
Yes.
Uh,
You'd be surprised how many times we get that question though. Like we show up with the jersey, the clean haircut,
Right.
and people are still like, "Oh yeah, are you just sponsored by the Air Force, or are you in the Air Force? No, I'm in the Air Force.
Well,
this
see,
isn't NASCAR.
now the millions and millions of people that listen to our podcast will now know you are in fact
Yes.
in the Air Force.
You should never get
That
the
is
question
correct.
again.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. The millions of people out there listening.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm on
Around
in
the
Air Force.
world.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have people listening in Costa Rica.
And
That's
Sweden.
awesome.
Yeah, as we have found
That's
out.
awesome.
I mean, it's only one
Yep.
person, but that's beside the point.
Hey, IPSC is big in Sweden, I think. So one day I would love to go there and shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you would do well there. But so before we get into kind of the meat and potatoes, true or untrue, Air Force, best housing, best food.
Absolutely true.
100%.
That is not a rumor. That's not even like a joke. That's 100% true.
That-
It's the best branch.
I can confirm that the food and the housing is the best.
That's his sad face because he was like, "Oh,
Yes.
I could have made different choices in life."
Hey, we had better tents.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe.
Yes, 'cause we don't have any.
I mean,
We
I
don't
never
have
saw them in the Air Force. That's why I say we had better ones.
They're like, "What's a tent? Is that what goes over the plane?"
any. Yeah, I've never had
That's
to put a tent
netting.
up before in my life.
How did this tent get in my hotel room?
That's like the whole, how did this peanut butter get in my chocolate thing?
So
I did play golf earlier this week. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, that's it. I'm done.
See, I love
All
that.
the stereotypes.
yeah, you got to watch out for your lower back on the swing. So you're both on the team. How did the team get started? Because you're obviously not the first members of the team. How did the team get started? Like, what is the onus, the colonel of the Air Force saying we need a shooting team?
The shooting teams in the Air Force have been around since the 50s. I couldn't tell you the specifics of how those operated back then, but it wasn't until about the 90s when the action pistol team was stood up, and there's actually 8 shooting teams.
Okay, that was going to be
across all
another
the different
question. Okay.
disciplines. Yeah, eight shooting teams. So we're one of 8. We are the most active of the teams in terms of matches shot and traveling and all that sort of stuff. I think USPSA 3-gun action shooting is just a little bit more prevalent nowadays. But I could be wrong. I've never shot it in the other disciplines. So our team got started in 1994. They had 5 team members back then, and pretty much since the beginning, it's been pretty solid in terms of competitiveness. We've had guys go to shooting top 10 in nationals, representing U.S. at World Shoot. But it's the structure of the team's always been kind of the same. Is that we all work normal jobs in the Air Force. There's no equivalent to the Army Marksmanship Unit or the Marine Corps shooting team where it's a full-time assignment. We all work our own jobs. We have pilots. We have electronic warfare officers. We have 3 security forces members, a pararescueman, maintainers. We have medical folks. We've got everybody. A dentist. We've even got a dentist on the team.
You
Can't
guys have
forget
to call
about
him doctor.
Rondre.
Yes.
I most definitely do not call him doctor.
Nick was like, "Oh yeah,
Most
for
of the time,
sure."
Oh, absolutely. I agree with
he calls him
Doctor,
doctor. Most of the
doctor,
time, I'm just like, Rondre, what are you doing? No, I love him.
What? I was
He's awesome.
tinkering.
He's stationed in San Antonio with me, so I get to shoot with the dentist all the time, and he gets a lot of flack from the guys when they go shoot, and they're like, "Oh, you're a dentist getting ready to shoot," and then he smokes people with his PCC, and they're like, "Oh, all right, guess
Oh,
you can shoot."
he's a dentist.
Let me
He
just go
affords
sit down
PCC.
again.
Yeah, he just switched over to carry optics. I think the shame just was overwhelming for him.
That's fair.
But
Well, so that's going to generate a
yeah.
couple different questions. But so as you were saying, like the Army Marksmanship Unit, so they're at Fort Benning. The Marine Corps shooting team is at Quantico. So, but since you guys you're not a team. You're a team, but you're not. So you guys are housed everywhere. There's not an official shooting team spot.
That's correct. Yes, we are stationed all over. There's no requirement to be in a certain location. travel and what matches you shoot and everything like that is on the individual member, wherever they want to go pretty much. We do try to coordinate which matches we're going to shoot together. We're always communicating on who's going where and whatnot, and pick a couple matches out of the year to get max participation so that we're showing up, quote unquote, as a team. But as far as requirements for being on team, you have to have your commander's approval. Obviously, we haven't had any applicants from overseas, but I think that would probably be an automatic no-go, just because you're not really able to shoot if you're in Germany or wherever.
It'd be a disqualifier.
So yeah, pretty much. You have to be able to travel and participate in the shooting matches that we do. So, but other than that, there's not really any requirements. And we like having people all over the country. We got folks in Alaska. We got folks pretty much everything east of Texas as well. Currently, nobody on the West Coast. Oh, we got somebody in New Mexico, but
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, all over the place.
West Coast-ish.
Yeah.
We've had people on the West Coast at one point, but
I was in California prior to this. There's actually a lot of shooting in California, and it's high quality shooting. The people that are there doing it are very, very, very passionate about it. California's got 54 million people, and half of those, or just under half of those people, are, I would say, supportive of the shooting sports. So there is a lot of people there that shoot, and they're good at it. Good matches, and yeah, it was a lot of fun shooting in California.
So, aside from winning, which I'm sure is the Air Force's mission 100% of the time, what is the primary mission of the team? Do you guys fall under training? Do you fall under what's it called? Public relations? What's the mission statement of the team?
Yeah, we fall under headquarters services, which is responsible for the sports team. So we're a sports team, okay, basically.
Like baseball.
So we're
like High-A-Lie?
Exactly.
Hey, people still play that.
like chess, all those things.
Curling.
Curling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen.
Yep.
I just watched that the other day. I'll have you know.
Olympics is curling. That's how Huggy gets to the Olympics.
Hurling with an H.
Hey,
it's from Ireland.
That is a fantastic spectator
Yes,
sport.
hurling is a good one. Hurling is an Olympic military sport.
Hurling, yeah, true, very true. So we're established to promote marksmanship within the Air Force, but we're also we're also established to promote morale, welfare, recreation within the Air Force ranks, and potentially as a recruitment tool as well. Though we're not usually used for recruitment per se. If they're using us for that, I'm not aware of it, and we're just pawns in a big chess game. But it's the Air Force sports teams are more of a tool to make sure that there's pride in the service, that you're encouraging people of all walks of life to join and to stay active in things other than just being an airman. Because the services, as you guys know, are so big, and they can be so demanding. They want to make sure that they offer stuff to folks to do other things and encourage them to stay in. So, yeah.
So, Nick, here's a question for you based on what he was just saying right there. Being a combat arms instructor, the stuff that you learn in competition and training for competition, how quickly can you turn that around and teach that?
So in my last position as a ground combat readiness instructor in El Paso, I was able to implement that on a much bigger scale very rapidly. And I had a very close finger onto the pulse of what was going on with the training as far as shooting, at least in the security forces career field, maybe not Air Force wide. So I saw a lot of good changes. I actually got to sit on the symposium board for implementing the new M110A1 for our sharpshooter program, since Air
Okay.
Force doesn't have snipers.
Okay.
Yep. So Nick was an instructor at our what we call regional training center. It's basically a pre-deployment um, unit. So all the Air Force security forces airmen that were getting ready to head down range went and saw Nick and did a couple days of shooting with him and his team before they were deployed overseas.
Okay. And I just had another question. Lost it. I should have written it down. Okay. So you've already said there's 8. Now, do you guys have any? I know you were saying historically you started in the 50s, but it looks like it ramped back up in the 90s. The Army is big for having Olympic champions. I mean, they have Lenny Basham, who then went on to write about. I know what my question was before Leo can take back over. So this goes back to how quickly can you incorporate what you've learned. Is the Air Force friendly to you guys being on the team to go TDY to take classes from like a Lanny Basham or a Steve Anderson or somebody dealing with the shooting sports?
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of the biggest advantages of being on the team is that we get permissive TDY. So for those that don't know, permissive TDY basically means you get time off of work without having to take your leave or your vacation days. So we get time to go do that, and some of those things get reimbursed, like class fees, match fees, that sort of thing. So yes, as long as your commander approves it and there's not the mission impact at the time, we can go do a lot of that sort of thing. We had a member take a 3 or 4 day class a couple months ago. Yeah, every year we usually have a few guys taking classes from some of the top names, and not having to take time off of work, which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a week back in 2019 or 18, one of the two. I forget, when I went out to TPC in Utah.
Okay. And what was that? What class was that you took?
That was their handgun super camp.
Nice.
That was very, very good. I learned a lot there.
Okay.
So it's
There seems like there's a lot of guys out there right now, like your Mike Seeklanders, who trained guys who were deploying, air marshals, stuff like that. So it seems like there's a lot of guys like that would pertain to exactly what you guys do. That's why I was asking.
okay.
Yeah, we haven't had a so most of those guys that are out there training military units, they're going to more of the soft guys, the units that have the time and the resources to bring on a big name instructor like that and teach them, do a 5-day course on a flat range or whatever. Us being all over the place, obviously we can't really get an instructor to come teach all of us at one point, but we do send people here and there to courses that are put on. And then we're also planning on putting a team camp on around this time next year. So we haven't had a team camp in many, many years, just with our very limited budget and time and all that sort of stuff. It takes a lot to put one on. And so we're looking at doing one next year where we're going to get all the team members together, and we're going to go through instruction and drills and all that sort of stuff. And we may or may not bring an outside instructor in, but between a lot of the guys that we have on the team right now, there's a lot of knowledge and experience at a very high competitive level that we can share within the team.
Yes.
We have several guys who have finished at the top in USPSA and in 3-gun matches. So unfortunately, we just don't have the kind of money to bring in one of those big names and teach us all. But we can send onesies and twosies their classes when they have them.
Okay. Now, I want to go back also. Nick, you mentioned you were at a regional training center, or actually Casey explained you were at a regional training center. Now, so that means you have more than one.
Yes.
Do all the training centers use the same POI?
We have a standardized course for principles of instruction, and we have a standardized curriculum that gets taught for our current sustainment training now.
Okay.
Since we've moved away from pre-deployment, being that the GWAT is now over.
So is that the board you referenced earlier that you were talking about? Is that where changes are made?
There's a couple different levels that all those changes go through. So I was keyed in very closely with one of them. There were two of the higher boards that weren't quite communicating like we thought at our level. So a few things got lost in translation.
Okay. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and so I don't know if you guys know, but I spent 4 years at Quantico at the Scout Sniper Instructor School.
I had heard.
And, we basically everything started there and then spread out. The different division schools made changes as they needed to based on where they were. But, we all used basically the same POI. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, that's what Nick's referring to, though, is just security forces instruction.
Right.
In the Air Force, we only have 10 to 15% of the force that is quote unquote ground oriented in terms of their combat orientation, right? So it's basically security forces, EOD, and then our soft career fields plus TACP. And TACP is attached to Army units. So the soft guys, our PJs, our combat controllers, our special reconnaissance airmen, they're all doing their own thing. They have their own training curriculums. They don't even use a lot of times they don't use the same weapons that we do. So they have different qualifications for them. In fact, one of our team members is at the PJ schoolhouse, so he gets involved with some of that instruction to you guys going through the PJ pipeline. But the vast majority of airmen, even the ones that are deploying, just get very basic weapons handling instruction.
Wow.
It's basically a qualification to make sure that they can handle the weapon safely and make it go boom.
Yes.
Security forces is the primary customer in the Air Force outside of SOF, where we're actually trying to build some level of competence with marksmanship. But 10% of the Air Force is security forces. So we have 24,000 plus, I think, active duty Air Force security forces members. So it's a large.
Yeah, that's a pretty large number.
Yeah.
And a lot of those classes get filled with a lot of quantity. So especially in El Paso, I had very large classes. I'd have classes of like 200 people.
Holy
get
cow.
through an Army range in one day over 3 days. So 1 day each day for a different course of fire.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Holy cow. Okay. Now, you said the other groups may not use the same weapons. What do you guys use for competition?
So the weapons we use in competition are whatever we want. So at work, Nick and I both use an M4. I just got an A1.
Me too.
Just
Me too. It's brand new.
No,
Right out
oh,
of the
nice,
box.
nice. It is brand new. It's the same exact thing with a heavier barrel. Honestly, like it is what it is. But anyways, we have M4s and a more fun giggle switch. We have M4s, and I still have an M9. I think Nick's probably got an M18 at this point.
Yep. We just sent all our
one of the
M9s
last
back to depot.
Okay. But in competition, we use our own weapons. So I'm using a Legion right now and carry optics. I just kind of diving into carry optics right now.
What's the optic on there?
It's a Delta Point.
Okay.
So I'm a big believer in find whatever is reliable and run with it. I don't tinker with my guns at all. Um, I don't have that much time in the day and time in the year to focus on shooting. I'm married with a 2-year-old, and so if I can spend time practicing or doing something like that, I'd rather spend my time my free time with guns. I'd rather spend it getting better rather than just messing with guns. Now, one thing I do need to do with this, I've realized, is probably do a little testing with my recoil spring, as I'm not terribly happy with how my dot's tracking, but I consider that more of like a necessary evil rather than swapping out different optics to find the ideal one. So I shoot ammo that's reliable. I don't really care if it's an extra 5 power factor over. I need guns that go bang every single time, and nowadays pretty much every gun you can get in your hands is going to provide you enough accuracy for the stuff that we do. We're not shooting bullseye here.
So right. So you're not using Lake City ammo? You're using civilian stuff?
Correct.
Okay,
yeah,
not
we have.
issue.
No, it's. I'm shooting 124 grain reman right now from Peak Performance, maybe. Honestly, just whatever I can get my hands on. When I was shooting open, I reloaded because it's a necessary evil again. But
Yep.
no, I don't have the time for that anymore. So I just shoot whatever I can get my hands on, pretty much.
Okay. Nick?
Yeah, well, I am not married, so I do have the time, well, marginally. So I reload.
You're married to the Air Force, sir.
Yeah, well, I have a lady friend that I've been helping her move her apartment, so that's been taking up a lot of time this week. But
You sound like you're in the Philippines. I have this lady friend.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know. No, don't do that.
no, I've met Marines from the Philippines before. So I actually just picked up a Glock 45 the other day and was playing with it. I went out and shot it today, and I actually really liked it. Found it was more accurate with the dot than my Glock 34, and I like the balance of it.
Your 34 is just a longer barrel, correct?
Correct. Which
Okay.
I have that right here as well.
Okay.
So
And you have an SRO in both of them?
yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just what I picked. I found them, liked them. They shoot all right. But I'm loading ammo with a 124 grain bullet, and I'm shooting roughly around 135 power factor.
Now, have you done anything to the springs or any of that stuff?
No, I
Okay. So it's a stock 45.
yeah, I took it out
Glock
of the
45,
box.
not 45 cal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I took a Dremel to the internal parts and polished it up, and slapped a dot on it, and it's good enough.
Now, is it
Not
zeroed?
really your own.
I just want to make sure your optic is zeroed, Nick.
Yes.
Are you good?
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
For now. There we go. All right.
But it's not really your own gun until you've taken a Dremel to it. We all know this.
Yeah, apparently.
Yes.
Now, did you guys have anybody who shot low cap nationals?
We had one member shoot it. Tom Bazor.
Yep.
I think he shot. Did he shoot carry optics?
No, he shot.
He shot the
Limit 10.
staff match.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
Oh
shot
yeah.
limited
No,
10.
you said that's not even an option. Low cap. Yeah, he shot the staff match. He really enjoys ROing, so he goes and does the whole RO package at the nationals matches, and I think you'll see him at the next one too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said he's got a slot for the next one to RO.
So did he get permissive TDY or did he have to take his time?
He got permissive.
Oh, nice.
I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome.
Now, so the permissive TDY thing, I don't get. I provide a letter from the team manager to the members that says whether or not they're authorized for permissive TDY, but it's still on the member to get approval from their commander.
Right.
So that process I don't necessarily get involved in. So I'm not 100% sure if he did or not.
Okay. Fair enough. So Leo, we've kind of skipped around a little bit. We started talking about weaponry, so I asked them what they're using in ammo. They're using their own guns and civilian ammunition. Because I did notice, just so you guys know, I went to My Air Force Life and saw the information on the shooting teams. And I saw where it says, they normally provide their own equipment. So I was just curious about that.
Back in the day, the Air Force supplied weapons. There was a specific funding stream for that. I think that was way prior to my time.
Those are the bullseye days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they had really some of the weapons they had were really, really, really nice. Some $10,000 or $12,000 shotguns, but those days are long gone. I didn't get to see any of those, unfortunately.
So Nick, did you follow low cap nationals at all?
I looked at the results a little bit. I saw the popper mishap with JJ.
So you saw where the Canic knocked down the popper, but the Beretta did not.
I mean, it's a bullet either way.
So. Is it though?
Exactly. Is it?
Yeah.
Leo does that better than me.
I'll come to Nick's defense on this. I actually kind of like how the Beretta shoots. I hate it for a carry gun or for a defensive weapon. It is big and bulky and unwieldy for what it is, and I'm very glad we're getting rid of it.
Okay. So Leo, Casey shoots a Legion, so you'll be happy to know that. He's a big Sig Sauer guy. And Nick is shooting Glocks. He has a Glock 34 and a Glock 45, both with Trijicon RMRs. RSROs. Duh. I'm an idiot.
That's all right.
Okay. Now I also noticed, because I was on My Air Force Life. Now it is different. With the AMU, you get basically recruited. I was on the Marine Corps rifle team in '90, and we shoot division matches, and then they select people based on the results from those matches. But it looks like you guys actually apply to be on the team. Is that it?
That's correct. So we have just an application process. We don't really have a recruitment process, and basically what we're trying to do now is kind of build our presence, social media, this type of thing. I hope will be fruitful for us too. Is to reach out to all the airmen that are shooting these sports and potentially interested in getting involved. And so what they do is they reach out to us and let us know they're interested, or occasionally they'll come across the Air Force Services website and they'll put in an application without even talking to us, which is fine too. But they submit an application. There's an online process for it. Me as the team captain will receive these applications, and it's basically a shooting resume. And so at the end, we typically do our appointments at the end of the fiscal year. So we'll review all the applications, and based on how many slots we have opening up, we'll pick our top folks. And what we try to do, and we usually have the opportunity to do, is shoot with people ahead of time. So as long as they contact us and say, hey, I'm interested in the team, this is pretty cool, we'll track them, we'll keep in touch with them, we'll do our best to link up with them at matches throughout the year, get a feel for how they shoot, whether they represent the Air Force professionally or not, and start building that relationship. And whether it's on their team or not, we still want to connect with airmen that shoot the sport, because it's a small community.
Absolutely. Now I want to dive into it a little bit deeper, because I looked in the entire My Air Force Life thingy. You scroll all.
I don't know how current. Just caveat. I don't know how current that information is.
But that's okay. That's good though, because I'll ask you, and then you can correct or set me straight on some things.
So I looked at it the other day, and the 303 is the same 303 that you and I filled out, Casey.
Okay.
Now,
sounds good.
But they talk about a training camp and then team selections based on the aggregate of record scores from the following.
Yeah, so that's referring to some of the other teams.
Okay, but it has action pistol. That's not.
Yeah, we don't have a specific process like that. What I'm assuming that's referring to is if you shoot international rifle or one of those things, and you go to Camp Perry, and you shoot that match or whatever it is. I don't even know if I'm lining my disciplines up with my matches, but
You are actually. You are.
Okay.
You're on spot.
So if you shoot that match, maybe they'll pick the next highest person on there. Type of thing. But
As action shooting, we're
no.
kind of a square peg in a round hole.
Well, and I thought it was interesting because it said you were supposed to shoot 2 complete 30-round field courses, but I'm like, if you guys are scattered around, then how do you set these up and how do you do that? It just seems like the logistics of it would be very difficult.
Yeah, so we don't do that. I'll give you kind of the loose requirements that we look at. We look at so the first things first is they have to have approval from the commander. That's a hard requirement. So the application has to have that, because if they're not going to get support from their unit to go travel, then it's a no-go. And if their commander is saying this person's not going to represent the Air Force professionally in a public light, then that's another no-go. So that's the only hard requirement. After that, we're looking for match experience. Does this person know what they're doing? Have they been to major matches and shown that interest and dedication to the sport? And then after that, we're looking at performance. And this is not necessarily in order, but we are looking at performance as well. And so performance usually relates loosely to a classification, although not everybody does USPSA, and that's okay, because we're not really just an action pistol team anymore. In 2010, we got approval to open up our aperture, and we do all the action shooting sports. So we have guys that just do 3-gun. We have guys that have done PRS, Steel Challenge, IDPA a little bit, and whatever else we've got out there. So we do look at a classification per se, but that's usually I'm more interested in match performance, where you're finishing in relation to top names. And again, it's a small community, so I can look at these. I look at practice score and see where you're finishing and see if you're a competitive guy or not.
Okay.
It's actually pronounced practice score.
I knew you were coming with that.
Oh, interesting.
If you're in front roll, it's practice score.
So we
Does
now
Ken
spell
Nelson
it.
know that?
Yeah, I was about to say, Ken Nelson says it differently.
It's spelled PRACTEYE score. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it's just like Missouri.
Yeah.
Practice score.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And Connecticut.
I'll never live that
Nope.
down.
Nope, you won't.
Is that what you let slip? What time's practice score?
Yes.
That
Trust
one
me,
of
I
many.
let a lot of things slip.
One of many.
Excellent.
All right, so an airman, has applied. They've been accepted onto the team, or selected onto the team. Are there any benchmarks to maintain? Like, we just spoke with Julie Golub, and she was talking about how there was a lot of stress involved from year to year. They expected you to continue improving every year. And, your spot is basically hanging on your performance. How does it work with you guys?
So for us, we have been fortunate, at least since I've been on the team, to most of the picks that we have, folks are interested in competing and getting better. And so we haven't had too much of an issue with that. Our requirements per se are really just continue to represent the Air Force professionally. We do want to see continued activity. So a couple major matches per year is kind of what we're aiming for at a minimum. And we have two sub teams, if you will. So we have a primary team and a developmental team. And our primary team guys are the folks that we've kind of expected to be competitive, to be winning every match they go to. And that's kind of the threshold there. There's a little extra support from the Air Force for the guys on the primary team, and that's really just the differential there. So we do basically expect everybody to continue to be active on the team and be a good team member, but there's not a hard requirement per se, and we unfortunately don't have enough interest within the Air Force, I think, to look at kicking people off every year to make room for new folks. But I will say, over the last year or so, we've had definitely an increased number of people applying that are competitive to be on the team. And I think that's just been a process of being on social media and getting the word out over the past few years is we're starting to spread throughout the community, and folks that are in their Air Force are seeing, oh, I can be a part of this, and we're getting a lot more people that are competitive candidates to be on the team. So
Nice.
in the future, that might be something that we have to look at. Is
Consider.
yeah, exactly.
Well, again, once this blows up, you're going to have applicants coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
You got
I
to
expect 1,000.
beat them off with a
1,000
stick.
by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Now, since you guys are so scattered around, I mean, you're still a team, but how do you meet? Do you guys just do like Zoom meetings or?
Yes, that's exactly what we do. We have Zoom meetings, and we just talk about basically. There's admin stuff behind the team. Obviously, we talk about that. We talk about the future plans for the team, initiatives that we're looking at doing. So the last meeting we had, we were talking a lot about team camp and how that was going to go, what kind of setup and organization that we wanted to do for it. So as the team captain, I get absolutely nothing, and as the assistant NCOIC or the NCOIC, Nick gets nothing in terms of added support from our day jobs to do this. So we rely on everything as a kind of a team effort. So team decisions, the organization of team camp is definitely a team effort. I run ideas on what we want to do for the team by the team before we go forth and do anything. So there's some admin stuff. We try to do that quarterly. And then other than that, we are just in constant communication. We have a WhatsApp group that's talking a few times every week. Could be just shooting the crap, or it could be, hey, could be a lot of memes, mostly making fun of PCC shooters.
Obviously.
That seems to be the common thing.
Yeah. No,
And Dennis,
nothing but love for PCC, right? No, it's all good. There's a time and place for it, but yeah, I think it's actually just kind of funny how much PCC shooters get made fun of. When you bring a rifle to a pistol fight, and then you claim that you won the match,
Yeah.
you deserve to get made fun of.
Yeah.
I have no problem with you shooting it. I just don't think you should be bragging that you beat people that were shooting a pistol. But yeah, so we try to coordinate, like I said, a couple matches a year where we all get together, get an Airbnb, and it's a fun time.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question.
Now I know.
So I have a question. Now, did you guys
Yep.
go to last year's nationals down in Florida at Frostproof?
I did not. I was in the middle of actually moving from El Paso up to here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was deployed last year during nationals, so I did not shoot it. We did have some members there, though.
Yeah. I saw a couple of the members. I just didn't know if you guys were there. Also, I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on the facility, and especially what was that long range shot that we had? What stage was
19.
19.
that? Yeah, where it was like a 45 yard shot.
In the
To
rain.
start in the rain.
In the rain with a plastic bag over.
I was the first shooter of the day on our squad that day. Totally worth it.
Well, I've shot a lot of matches at Frostproof, and I think every time I've been there, there's been a 40 or 50 yard shot. So I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Know the feeling. I'm really excited to shoot. I'm going to try to shoot nationals at CMP this year, later this year. I'm really excited. I went to school in
optics?
Birmingham, so yeah, and carry optics for me.
So is the dentist going to shoot PCC with you?
He'll be there for karaoke.
Dennis so Dennis was he's not on the team anymore. He's been retired for a while. Rondre is our current PCC shooter. Oh, the dentist. I'm sorry. We had a team member back in the day called Dennis. But yeah, the dentist. He's switched to carry optics. I think he
Okay.
had enough of the rifle.
All right.
If you don't already,
got tired
just
of being-
refer to him as the dentist from now on. Just be like, oh, it's the dentist.
Okay, I'll do that. The dentist.
Yeah.
It sounds like a movie.
Change
He
his
has-
jersey,
he has
just
many
says the
names.
dentist.
Or we could say
I think he would wear it proudly.
There you
I
go.
think he really
Yes.
would.
that has just like a big
That
old like,
and
Chester
Team
Cat
Dad.
brand.
Team Dad.
Yeah.
Team Dad.
Team Dad, you'll know it's him because he's the only one that wears an Air Force visor ever in history of ever. So
Oh,
That's him.
wow.
Like non-ironically. Like,
on
like,
purpose, like
chose to
embrace
do
it.
it.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
With one of the
Oh,
best
yes.
smiles I've ever seen, because he's a dentist.
I would hope so.
I wanna
I would
meet
hope
this
so.
oh yeah.
Well, and anybody who shoots with them, there's really no excuse for them not to be deployable due to oral care. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
He loves to talk about keeping airmen healthy and stuff, and he does a great job.
Yeah.
This guy, Rondre, I know you're going to listen to this. You're the most passionate about the Air Force I've ever met. It's awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
He's
Good for
passionate
him.
about
Yeah.
everything he puts his mind to. He's a
Yes, he
passionate
is.
guy, and I admire him for it.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he is a fantastic representative of the team and of the Air Force. Yeah, we're really proud to have him. He's been a great addition. Everybody that meets this guy, I hope you guys get to soon. He's a very, very nice guy.
Shout out to the dentist from
There
Casual
you
Shooter
go.
The
Podcast.
dentist.
He's like the Lieutenant Dan of oral hygiene. Like, change your socks. If you ever stop, change your socks. If you're stopping, you better be flossing.
Yeah, maybe minus the all the improprieties and all that sort of stuff.
Loosely, very loose. Yeah. No, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Loosely
in
related.
all the good aspects only, obviously, is what I meant.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Now, I know that, like, Nick, you've mentioned you shot 3-gun. Casey, you've said the same thing. Nick, you've shot PRS as well. Since you guys have your regular job, which is still, your day job, what does your training look like for the team? How do you guys go about training and prepping and all of that when you still have a 40? Look, I was in the military. It's not a 40-hour work week. We know that. So your 40-plus hour work week, what does your training look like?
So, mind if I take this one first, sir?
Yeah.
So, my day job is actually my night job. I work a mid shift from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So, we have various things that we do as a flight on that. One of them being dry fire training, which I've been implementing with my guys and trying to build that foundation in the house, walls, roof, to build a better platform and a better shooter out of all of my airmen there. For my personal training, I have targets set up all over my apartment, and I'll put on YouTube or Netflix or something, and I'll just sit there and dry fire. I do a lot of transition training, a lot of reloads, a lot of draws. It's not as structured as some might say, but it's gotten me decently far.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I think it's probably pretty standard for what most people that shoot our sport do is they fit it in when they can. In college, I had a lot more time, and then when I was a lieutenant, I had a lot more time back then, and I'd dry fire 15, 20 minutes a day or something like that, sometimes up to an hour. And then in 2018, my assignment afforded me a lot more time. I made a very conscious effort at the beginning of that assignment that I was going to make a push for Grandmaster and get as far as I could at nationals that year and win as many major matches. So that year in particular was very, very, very structured. I was dry firing every single day for 30 minutes with a very focused training program. And I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts kind of like this, trying to identify how do I train better, where are my weaknesses, and how do I train them. And that I was also really fortunate because I had a very, very, very cheap range, only 20 minutes from where I was, and I had the time to go shoot live fire every week. So I was dry firing every day, live firing once a week, and shooting 2 matches a month. And so that year I improved significantly I also kind of got burned out by the end of it once nationals was over. So I took pretty much as soon as that was done, I went into another PCS or moved to a different assignment. And then my son was born shortly after that. And so for basically 2.5 years, up until about 3 weeks ago, I have not done hardly any practice. No dry fire, no live fire. I've probably had 2 or 3 live fire training sessions, only because the dentist, he encouraged me to come out, but it wasn't of my own volition.
He really wanted to check your teeth, but it's all good.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm getting back into it. I'm trying to stick to 15 to 20 minutes a day of dry fire, and then my live fire is gonna be a little inconsistent as I'm getting ready to move again in a few weeks. But once I get up to my new assignment, I'll try to figure out where it is, and I'm gonna try to make another push if time and work allows for a good finish at nationals this year. And if that's the case, then I will do my best to try to do another dry fire every day for 30 minutes, live fire once a week. And those live fire sessions will probably have to be shorter on ammo than they were in previous years, just because I don't have the ammo like anybody
Neither
else
do we.
does. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of like the Southeast pipeline right now.
Yeah.
Dry.
right. It's coming back though. It's coming back.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, how has the ammunition affected you guys at all, or how's that working out?
Job-wise, no.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we're subject to the same issues that everybody else is, and I think we've all been in the sport long enough to know that you don't buy just in time. You don't buy ammo right before a match. So all of us are going into the beginning of the season with either thousands of rounds or thousands of components ready to go. So a lot of our guys do reloads. So everybody has ammo, but it is definitely the replenishment isn't there. So I think everybody's being a little bit more careful on how often you're going and just blowing ammo at the range.
Yes. The shortage has affected me more mentally than it has physically. So my mentality of, oh yeah, let me just go to the range and blast off a few rounds is kind of like, oh, let me just dry fire.
Let me pretend like I'm blasting at these targets on my wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, hey, that's a huge – you guys – I think you guys probably know this, and I'm sure some of the other interviewers have said this, but you can do 95% of what you need to do with dry fire.
I agree.
It's frustrating to me when I see people who go to the range 2, 3, 4 times a month, and they're shooting all the time, and they're not putting in the time in dry fire. Your improvement is going to be so dampened by that, and you're just being inefficient with your time and resources. You can get 10 times the amount of trigger pulls in the same amount of time for free by doing dry fire, and you're practicing almost all of the skills that you need to be good at this sport just by dry firing.
Yep, agree.
Yes, sir.
You make most of your gains in dry fire, for
Yeah,
sure.
we've talked about that quite a great deal on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dry fire, real quick. Have either one of you listened to the Green Ops episode we had on?
No, I'm actually in the middle of the Tim Herron episode, and the Green Ops one is next.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is one of the guys on that episode, Josh Shaw, he's a GM, carry optics guy, but he's also an intel guy. So he got deployed overseas, and he introduced some. It's in the podcast. It's very interesting how they had some door kickers, and they were asked, hey, what can we do to get better? And he was like, dry fire. And they were like, oh, my God. But they did it, and they were like, hey, we actually did it, and we're finding we're improving. So it's an interesting little segment within the podcast.
I do want to take a class from Green Ops while I'm out here.
Yeah,
They're
I
good
mean,
guys.
and I mean they do have a section right there in San Antonio, so not too far from
okay.
it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Check them out.
Do. So I guess you come up with your own competition schedule, but is there like a minimum that you guys would do, or I imagine there's not a maximum, but a minimum number of competitions people on the team are expected to shoot?
Yeah, so we push hard for 2 major matches, and that's a pretty low threshold. But being in the Air Force, it fluctuates dramatically. Like last year, I think I may have only got 1 major in just because of COVID, and then I was deployed. So I think everybody's kind of understanding of that. And then we have 2 members up in Alaska. It's really hard for them to shoot majors based on where they're out of right now. So because it's a lot more traveling for them. Alaska itself only has 1 or 2 majors across all the disciplines, So it's not a hard requirement, but we do encourage people to be shooting that. Now, if you're shooting a ton of local matches and helping out in the community and bringing people into the sport, that's something that we look at too. We've got guys that do that, shoot mainly local matches, and they're really involved in the sport, and that is it. They're being a great representative and ambassador of the Air Force, and that's really what we're looking for. So, as far as primary team guys, I need my guys out there representing at majors and doing well. But to be on the team in general, I need a good professional ambassadors of the Air Force.
I did see on your one of the social media, it might have been Facebook, where I guess recently you had some guys in the San Antonio area with some high school kids teaching them stuff.
Rondre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the dentist. That's the
Oh, was it
guy.
really?
Yeah. He's
Good for him.
Well,
He is very.
He's very
Right.
pro
Go ahead,
junior.
Yes.
Okay.
well,
He
that's
gets very, very involved with junior sports.
well, that's very interesting because that was going to be one of my questions. With my background being going to an Air Force Junior ROTC military high school, do you guys actually go out to places like that to draw interest? Because I know when I was there, we used to actually have a rifle team, and we competed against other military high schools, and we were actually pretty doggone good, I will have to say, back then. So I don't know how it is now, but back then we were really competitive, and a lot of people didn't like the Air Force Junior ROTC guys coming in.
So I haven't done any of that. I think probably most of our guys haven't. And I think that would probably go back more towards the recruitment discussion where it's not really our main priority. So if headquarters came down and said that they wanted us to start focusing on that and giving us some resources to get more involved with that, then I think that's absolutely something we would do. But that's a lot more time also away from our job and from shooting.
Right.
And so, yeah, if people get involved with that, it's on an individual basis. But I think the type of shooting y'all are doing is not really the kind that we do either.
Well, I know. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I was thinking like the gentleman Roderick, getting some of these juniors thinking about it now, so that if they decide to enlist into the Air Force after their senior year in high school, it'd be something to drive them to go into the Air Force and say, hey, after basic training, then I would like to join this team and be competitive.
So coming
Yeah,
from the
again,
enlisted side, being a junior enlisted in the Air Force and trying to be competitive would be very difficult, even if you do have experience with it beforehand. Mm-hmm. Mostly on a financial side, because we do put a lot of our own money and our own funds into this.
Gotcha.
And then the living situation, living in dormitories on an Air Force base, you're not going to have access to your guns to be able to dry fire because you can't have them in the dormitories.
Right.
So there's a few hiccups, but absolutely, we do want to encourage those juniors. There is a cadet shooting team at the Air Force Academy, and that could be another route.
Oh,
We actually have a team member who works very closely with the cadets at the Air Force Academy.
okay, very good. All right.
You guys haven't, Leo, we ran through all your questions. You guys have anything else?
I mean, really, the only other thing, not question-wise, but kind of towards the end of any of these interviews, we like to give our interviewees the opportunity, if there's anything you guys want to talk about, any whatever it may be that you want to, final words of wisdom for.
Yeah, anything you want to expand on, or any type of Air Force recruiting stuff, whatever.
I have a question for you all. I'd be curious. I'm always interested in what people think of when
Huggy
they, when
did
they
it.
see.
Huggy's fault.
Okay. All right, that answers my question. No, I'm just curious what people think when they see the Air Force jerseys walking around the shooting range. We do get a lot of people, especially folks that are crown eaters and former soldiers that like to make fun of us for, Air Force has got a shoot team. Let's see if you can hit the broadside.
I'll have you know they
But,
taste good, those crayons. I don't
The
want to
red
hear it.
ones are like cherries.
Yeah, exactly.
That took my question. What's your favorite?
I really like the way my poop looks afterwards. I'm just saying.
I do think you guys have very smart-looking jerseys. I will say that. And unlike
Yeah.
ours, they don't look like traffic cones.
I actually, having been former military, I like seeing military jerseys. Like, I haven't seen any Navy jerseys. I would actually like to see all of the branches of service out there competing with everybody, because I think it makes you guys better, makes civilians better. And it still creates that cohesion between civilian shooters, military shooters, and makes everybody a big team.
I can point you in the direction of the Navy team.
Yeah, they
The
have a
Great
team.
Lakes?
Let us know.
No,
It's,
actually, there's one down in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Oh, okay. But they're the only
they
jersey
have a team
I haven't
new.
seen of the four.
Yeah, I think there's only 3 or 4 members so far. They're just getting it started from the ground up as an official team, and I think they're kind of set up in our way where they're all doing their own. They've got their day jobs, and then they get kind of similar support that we do. If I'm
That's correct.
So
not
I
mistaken.
have a follow-up question to that then. Coast Guard, Space Force, shooting teams? Yes, no?
Coast Guard has one. Coast Guard actually has one.
Okay.
I have seen. I don't know any of the members, but I've seen one walking around the range one time. Maybe it was at Frostproof, I think, actually.
I know one member.
Okay, and then Space Force they actually fall under us as far as shooting teams. So I asked that question. We will accept applications from Guardians. If there are any Space Force dudes or dudettes out there that want to be on the team, you'll be on the Air Force shooting team. So we actually have a guy who's a reservist on the team, and if he were active duty, he would be in the Space Force. So there's no plans for them to have a shooting team anytime in the future.
Do they know
I was going
lasers
to say
are
they
not
can't
allowed?
shoot lasers at competition. That's why.
That's
it's not
right.
safe.
Not allowed. Yeah.
I'll make sure we clarify that. I think they probably wouldn't score very well if they were shooting lasers. It's not going to put a very big
Like the
hole in the
stormtroopers,
target.
they'd just constantly be shooting and they'd always miss. Worst aim ever.
We'll have to, Nick. I don't think we've made fun of Huck for that one yet. We'll have to do that.
Yeah,
You can do it now.
next time.
We're always out for making
I'll make
fun
sure
of
he
somebody.
listens to you guys.
They heard around the
Yes.
world.
Oh no,
Yep.
we're here to uplift people here.
There you
We'll
go.
berate them.
Gotcha. Perfect. Oh, well, yeah, but like I said, if there's anything else you guys want to discuss before we get out of here, here is your platform. By all means, let us know, and then we'll let you go about your day.
Any airmen that are interested in the shooting sports, or preferably are well established in the shooting sports and would like to be representatives of the Air Force, go ahead and reach out to me. I'm on Facebook at Nick Fralick. Fralick is spelled Fralick. You can find me on Instagram at practical_Catm, CATM. I'd love to talk about the shooting sports and way forward in the shooting sports in the Air Force with you.
All right.
Yep, and anybody who's interested, whether you're in the Air Force or not, thinking about joining, please reach out to us. Best way is on social media. The Facebook page is facebook.com/USAF Action Shooting, and the Instagram is USAF_AST. Shoot us a message, and we'll get back to you within a day or two on that. And whether you're good or not good or just getting interested, I would love to help you get you pointed in the right direction on how to get involved in sport. It would make my day if so many more people in the Air Force or in the military in general were into shooting sports, because there's no better way to build consistency than through competition, and especially in our line of work, it's a necessary evil to be competent and safe with handguns, and firearms in general. Sorry. So yeah, reach out to us. Love to help you, and just appreciate you guys interviewing us and having us on the podcast.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
One more thing, if you guys don't mind, if there are any airmen or anyone in the National Capital Region would like to go to a practical shooting match, again, reach out to me, and I would love to be your guide into the shooting sports.
And I will say, for all those out there, they do get back to you very quickly. That's how we got in touch with them, and it was. You can't say anything about the Air Force not being punctual.
Yeah, Nick will chaperone you to a match.
Yep.
Yes. There's no such thing as on time. You're only either early or late.
It's a powerful mustache. Conveys authority.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.